The stars above Earth were quiet, as they always had been. For centuries, humans had gazed up at them, dreaming of adventure, but never imagining that the stars had already noticed them. Earth had been a peaceful planet, far from the dangers of the galaxy. It had no enemies. No one was even sure if other intelligent life existed out there, but that was about to change. Deep in the vastness of space, far from Earth's view, something ancient stirred. A powerful force, old beyond human understanding, had been watching. They weren't interested in humanity at first. The Earth was just another small planet, unimportant, lost among the stars. But then something happened, discovery, a moment of curiosity. Humanity, in its journey across the stars, had unknowingly crossed paths with this force. The galaxy's greatest debt, one that no one remembered, was now about to be called in. This debt was not a simple one. It wasn't money, and it wasn't a war. It was a promise, a pact made by Earth's ancient ancestors, long before any human could understand the weight of their actions. It was a promise made to a powerful galactic counselor group that ruled the stars with an iron fist. They had given Earth a chance to grow, to be part of something bigger. In exchange, humanity owed them. But as Earth's leaders would soon discover, it wasn't a debt they had been prepared for. No one could predict what was coming. News came to Earth in whispers, carried on secret channels by those who had once served the Galactic Council. There was talk of a fleet, vast and silent, headed towards Earth. At first, it seemed like a rumor, an empty threat that would fade away with time. But then the ships appeared. They weren't like anything humanity had ever seen before. They were sleek and dark, their designs unfamiliar and frightening. They moved with precision, their presence sending waves of fear across the galaxy. And they were heading straight for Earth. Humanity had never been so afraid. The planet's military leaders quickly gathered, trying to make sense of the situation. Earth had weapons, yes, but nothing compared to what was coming. There was no warning, no time to prepare. The alien fleet was already too close, and it seemed like there was no way to stop them. Among the military leaders, a sense of panic began to spread. What were they supposed to do against a force that had already defeated countless civilizations before? Earth's technology was far from advanced compared to the rest of the galaxy. The humans had no allies, no one to turn to, and the most terrifying part, Earth had no idea why these ships were coming. No one knew what the debt was that had been owed, nor why the galaxy was turning its attention to Earth now. Of all times, in the midst of the chaos, General Marcus Hughes stood before the emergency council, his face hard with resolve, but his heart heavy with doubt. The silence in the room was unbearable. Everyone knew that their entire world could be destroyed within a matter of hours. Yet, no one knew how to stop it. "We need answers," Marcus said, his voice firm. "We need to know who they are and why they're here. We don't have the luxury of time to guess." The council members nodded, but their eyes were filled with uncertainty. Earth's scientists had been studying the alien ships, but they could find no way to communicate with them. No language, no signal, just the silent approach of death. As the days passed, the truth began to sink in. Earth was facing an enemy unlike anything it had ever known. There was no diplomacy, no way to negotiate, and no time to build alliances. The threat was real, and humanity was completely unprepared. All they had was their will to survive. The first attack came without warning. In the early hours of the morning, The ground trembled as massive shockwaves from above rattled the buildings. The alien ships didn't fire weapons, at least, not in the way humanity was used to. Instead, they sent down beams of light, fast and deadly, that tore through Earth's defenses like paper. Buildings crumbled, cities were left in ruins, and millions of people died within seconds. General Hughes stood in the command center, staring at the screens, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. This was no ordinary attack. The force behind it was something beyond human imagination, and it was just the beginning. "This is it," one of his officers whispered. "They're not here to negotiate. They're here to take what's theirs." Hughes clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had to do something, anything, to protect Earth. But what could they do against an enemy that seemed to be unstoppable? The clock was ticking. The alien fleet was drawing closer, and with each passing hour, the chance of survival grew smaller. But as humanity looked up at the stars, there was one thing they didn't know. They weren't completely alone. There was a hidden force within Earth itself, a force that had been waiting for this very moment. It was only a matter of time before the truth would be revealed, the truth about the debt humanity owed, and the price they would have to pay. And when that truth came to light, the galaxy would never forget the day humanity settled the score. Asterisk. The days that followed the first attack were a blur of chaos. Earth's cities lay in ruins, and panic spread like wildfire. Humanity had never faced such an overwhelming threat. But even as fear gripped the planet, there were whispers. Whispers of ancient knowledge. Whispers of a debt that had been hidden for centuries. And with those whispers came a terrifying truth. General Marcus Hughes was at the front lines, overseeing the defense of what was left of Earth's military forces. But even his battle-hardened mind was struggling to comprehend what was happening. Every military strategy they tried seemed futile. The alien fleet was not like anything humanity had ever encountered. They didn't just fight with weapons, they fought with sheer power, an ancient technology beyond anything Earth could even imagine. The first attack was devastating, but there was something deeper lurking behind it, something none of them understood yet. Then came the message. It arrived as a simple transmission, an encrypted signal that was broadcast to every corner of Earth. It wasn't from the enemy fleet, but from a source even more unexpected. The leaders of Earth's own past. The message was short, a single line that echoed through every communication. Channel, the debt is yours to settle, humanity. The time has come to pay. The words hit like a hammer, shattering the fragile hopes that still lingered in the hearts of Earth's survivors. The enemy wasn't just here to conquer, they were here for something much more profound. They were here to claim what was owed. To them, the truth had been buried for centuries, but now it was coming to the surface. Humanity's ancestors had made a pact with a powerful galactic council. It was a promise of peace, a promise to remain hidden and isolated in exchange for a debt that would one day be called in. The council had given Earth the time it needed to grow, to develop, but they had always known that one day the debt would come due. As General Hughes read the transmission again, his mind raced. Earth had no memory of this pact, no knowledge of what had been promised. Yet the council's words were clear. They were coming to collect. Hughes summoned the Council of Earth's leaders for an emergency meeting. As the military officers, scientists, and politicians filed into the room, the air was thick with tension. Everyone knew that this was no ordinary threat. This was something deeper, something tied to humanity's very history. "We need answers," Hughes said, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. What debt are they talking about? Why wasn't it passed down through the generations? Why weren't we prepared for this? Dr. Olivia Harris, a top scientist who had been researching the alien technology, stood up. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp with determination. We've been looking through ancient records, and there are signs hidden away. Documents, symbols, artifacts all pointing to this council. They've been watching us, waiting for the day we would need to repay our ancestors' promise. The room fell silent. The weight of the revelation hung over them all. What had humanity's ancestors done to incur such a debt? How had they sealed a deal with a council so powerful, so far beyond Earth's understanding? And why had it been kept hidden for so long? The leaders turned to Hughes. It was clear that he was now their only hope. He had been through countless battles, but this was something entirely different. We're running out of time, Hughes said, his voice low. The enemy is closing in, and we still don't understand what we're up against. We need to know everything about this council, everything about this debt, whatever it takes. The Council of Earth's leaders began to scramble, working through ancient texts, old transmissions, and anything they could find to uncover more about the Council's past dealings with humanity. They knew that the key to surviving lay in understanding their enemy, but the more they uncovered, the more they realized just how deep the debt went. Over the next few hours, the scientists made a startling discovery. Hidden in the earliest records of human history was a name and entity whose origins were as mysterious as the stars themselves. The Galactians. The Galactians were an ancient race that had once ruled the galaxy, long before humanity had even evolved. They were not just conquerors, but keepers of balance, deciding the fate of entire civilizations. They had made a pact with Earth's ancestors, a pact that involved humanity's growth and protection. In exchange, the humans would owe them something that had yet to be defined. And now that something was being demanded, Dr. Harris couldn't believe what she was seeing. The Galactians didn't just give Earth a chance to thrive, she said, her voice trembling. They helped us, taught us how to survive in the galaxy. They gave us technology, knowledge, everything we needed to evolve. But in return, we promised to give them something priceless when the time came. The truth was becoming clear. Earth was not just a forgotten planet in the galaxy. It was part of something much bigger, vast, intricate web of ancient agreements and debts that stretched across time and space. And now that debt had come due. The room was filled with a sense of dread. No one could escape the weight of their ancestors' promise. Humanity had no choice but to face the consequences of their past. As General Hughes stared out of the window, looking at the silent fleet in the sky, he knew one thing. The time to settle the score had come, and the galaxy would never forget. What happened next? The days that followed the revelation were filled with frantic activity. The once peaceful world of Earth had become a war zone, with cities in ruins and the threat of total destruction hanging over everyone's heads. But amidst the chaos, there was also something else, a rising determination. Humanity may have been caught off guard, but they weren't going down without a fight. General Marcus Hughes stood at the helm of Earth's final defense, looking out over the remnants of the human fleet. It was a shadow of what it once had been. The alien ships had destroyed Earth's most powerful warships in mere minutes, their advanced technology proving more than a match for anything humanity had to offer. Now, Earth's remaining ships were hastily repaired and poorly equipped. But they were all they had left. "We have to do something," Hughes muttered under his breath, turning to the officers gathered around the war table. The room was filled with maps, reports, and data about the alien fleet's movements, but none of it gave them a solid plan. Admiral Grace Sullivan, the commander of Earth's second-largest fleet, was the first to speak. "We don't have the technology to match them. They're on a completely different level. We don't even know what we're fighting. All we know is that they're not here to negotiate. We fight with what we have," Hughes replied, his voice firm. "We may be outgunned, but we have something they don't: human ingenuity and the will to survive. We'll use whatever we can to our advantage." It wasn't much, but it was a start. In the weeks that followed, Earth's scientists and military engineers worked around the clock, desperately trying to understand the alien technology. They reverse-engineered what little they could, scavenging for any piece of information that might help them in the coming battle. But the alien ships were far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. The technology was sleek, efficient, and deadly, with weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The most alarming discovery came when Earth's scientists finally managed to decrypt a small portion of the alien fleet's communications. They had expected orders or plans, but instead, they found something else: a countdown to the final strike. "It's coming," said Dr. Olivia Harris, the lead scientist working on the alien tech. Her face was grim as she watched, the countdown clock ticking down on the screen. "They'll be here in 3 days. We're running out of time." Panic spread like wildfire across the planet. The people of Earth were frightened, but they were also angry. For the first time in their history, humanity was united in a single purpose: survival. There were no more divisions, no more arguments. Everyone, from the highest-ranking leaders to the ordinary citizens, knew that the fate of Earth was on the line. But even as the countdown continued, there was something else, something that made Hughes's heart beat faster with both fear and hope. There was a hidden strength within Earth, one that had been dormant for centuries, waiting for this exact moment. It was the ancient technology, the very same that had been gifted to humanity by the Galactic Council all those years ago. It was said to be hidden, buried deep beneath the surface of Earth, a secret left behind by their ancestors. The Council's debt was more than just a payment, it was a test, and the moment had arrived for humanity to unlock its true potential. Hughes turned to Dr. Harris. "Do you think we can access it? Do you think the technology is still down there?" She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with a mix of awe and fear. "It's possible, but we'll need to dig deep." Literally, the Council hid it in the most secure place on Earth, and even if we find it, we may not be able to understand it. "It's our only chance," Hughes said, his voice hard with resolve. "We can't afford to fail." The military scrambled to locate the hidden underground facility that was rumored to contain the ancient technology. It had been sealed off for centuries, and only a handful of people even knew of its existence. Earth's most skilled engineers and archaeologists were called in, and soon, large-scale excavation began at various sites around the planet. Meanwhile, in the skies above Earth, the alien fleet continued its slow approach, its presence casting a dark shadow over every city. People waited, hoping for a miracle, knowing that time was running out. As the excavation crews dug deeper, they encountered strange artifacts and structures ancient, almost alien in design. The deeper they went, the more they realized that what they were uncovering was far beyond anything humanity had created. The technology was unlike anything seen on Earth, glowing faintly with an otherworldly energy at the heart of the excavation. they found it, a massive vault, locked tight, with complex, almost incomprehensible mechanisms. It was clear that the Council had designed it to be opened only by those who had been deemed worthy of the technology, and worthy of settling the debt. Hughes stood before the vault, staring at it with a mixture of awe and fear. If humanity could unlock this vault, if they could understand the technology inside, they might stand a chance against the alien fleet. But if they failed, it would mean the end of Earth. "Do we have it?" Hughes asked, his voice tense. Dr. Harris stepped forward, holding a device that she had worked tirelessly to build, a key, if you will, that might unlock the vault. "I think so," she said. "But we'll need to hurry. The Council's fleet is nearly here." With a deep breath, Dr. Harris activated the device. The vault's surface shimmered, responding to the key, and the massive door began to open, revealing what lay inside. The chamber was filled with strange, glowing technology. There were weapons, sure, but also something else, something even more powerful. Ancient computers hummed to life, their screens flickering with data that Earth's engineers couldn't fully comprehend. "It's more than just weapons," Dr. Harris whispered, her voice filled with wonder. This is the key to understanding the Council and the galaxy itself." Hughes felt his pulse quicken. This was humanity's last chance. They had uncovered the power to fight back, but now they had to learn how to use it. The clock was ticking, and the countdown to the final battle had begun. The final countdown had come. There were no more hiding, no more second chances. General Marcus Hughes stood before the massive display in the command center, watching as the alien fleet, dark and foreboding, entered Earth's atmosphere. The countdown clock flashed ominously on the screen. Less than 4 hours until the attack began. The excavation team had unlocked the ancient vault, and humanity had gained access to technology that was beyond their wildest dreams. But that didn't mean they understood it. The alien computers hummed with an unfamiliar language, and their weapons, while powerful, were unlike anything Earth's engineers could fully comprehend in such a short time. Yet, despite all the unknowns, one thing was clear: humanity was not going down without a fight. General Hughes rallied Earth's surviving fleet commanders. The world's military forces, though battered and bruised, had come together in a way no one had expected. The alien fleet might have the advantage in technology, but humans had something the invaders could never understand: unpredictability. And right now, unpredictability was humanity's greatest weapon. "We may not fully understand the tech we've uncovered," Hughes said, his voice cutting through the silence. "But we can use it. We've got ships, we've got fighters, and we've got one chance to do what no one thought possible. We fight with everything we've got, and we'll show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." On Earth's surface, the situation was no better. The streets, once teeming with life, were now deserted, the air thick with tension. People huddled in shelters, watching the sky, waiting for the worst. Yet, even in the face of such terror, something remarkable was happening. Earth was united in a way it had never been before. Nations that once fought against each other now stood side by side. There was no more fear of division, only the single-minded goal of survival. But far above, the alien fleet approached massive ships, gliding silently, their weapons aimed directly at Earth. Humanity had prepared, but there was no guarantee that their makeshift defenses would be enough. The truth was, the unknown alien fleet's first strike had already shown them how outmatched they were. The first wave of fighters, built from what little they could salvage, rocketed into the skies. their engines humming as they formed up in tight formations. They would serve as a distraction and attempt to buy time. The ships, though small and agile, had no real chance against the heavily armed alien ships, but they didn't need to. The hope was that their sheer numbers would draw attention away from Earth's final defense. The alien ships unleashed their first salvo as soon as the fighters entered their range. The weapons didn't just fire projectiles, they sent pulses of energy, turning entire squadrons of human fighters to ash in an instant. It was brutal, relentless. And the fleet wasn't stopping. The initial wave was quickly wiped out, but it had accomplished its purpose, had bought Earth's forces more time. Back in the command center, the tension reached a boiling point. Every eye in the room was glued to the screens as the alien ship's massive, deadly cannons turned toward Earth's capital cities. It was clear the aliens were not here to negotiate. They were here to wipe Earth from existence. "We need a miracle," Admiral Sullivan said, her voice tinged with desperation. "Our fighters are gone. Our ships can't get close enough to their fleet without being destroyed." Hughes didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned his attention to the new technology they had unearthed. The alien weapons were powerful, yes, but they also came with a terrible cost. Every shot drained massive amounts of energy, and while the Council's fleet was formidable, it wasn't invincible. The energy required to sustain their weaponry was immense, and Hughes realized that if they could disrupt the fleet's power, they might have a shot. "We have one chance," Hughes said, his voice calm but filled with determination. "We use the technology. We target their power sources. We don't have to defeat them outright. We just need to stop them long enough to strike back." The strategy was risky, almost insane, but it was their only option. The newly reconfigured human ships, equipped with the alien technology, began their attack. They were armed with unfamiliar energy weapons that hummed with a strange, otherworldly power. When they fired, the results were immediate. The first alien ship in the fleet shuddered violently, a burst of light tearing through its hull. The massive vessel began to spin out of control, its weapons going dark as its power systems failed. It was a victory, but a small one. One by one, the human ships launched their attack. The battles were fierce, and many lives were lost. Yet, for the first time since the alien fleet arrived, humanity had hope. They weren't just trying to survive anymore. They were fighting back. On Earth's surface, the news spread quickly. People watched as Earth's last-ditch efforts seemed to push back the invaders, just a little. Every successful strike lifted their spirits, and though they still knew the fight was far from over, there was a glimmer of hope. Humanity had always been underestimated, but now the galaxy would see just what Earth was capable of. As the battle raged on, General Hughes stood tall in the command center, watching the chaos unfold on the screens. The alien fleet was powerful, but Earth had something the invaders hadn't counted on: human spirit. "We might not win this fight," Hughes said, his voice firm, "but we will make them remember who we are. We will show them that the galaxy will never forget the day humanity fought back." The alien fleet may have thought it was a simple conquest, but what they had underestimated was the one thing they couldn't predict: humanity's unyielding will to fight for its survival. The true battle had just begun. The battle had raged for hours, and the situation on Earth was dire. Humanity's fleet, though reinvigorated with alien technology, was outmatched. The sky was a swirl of flashing lights as ships crisscrossed the battlefield, some vanishing in fiery explosions, others barely dodging the relentless barrage of alien energy weapons. General Marcus Hughes stood on the bridge of the last remaining flagship, his gaze fixed on the chaos unfolding around him. The alien fleet, despite the damage it had sustained, still outnumbered humanity's forces 10-1. The odds were insurmountable, and yet Hughes wasn't ready to surrender. Not yet. In the distance, Earth's capital cities lay in ruins. The alien fleet's first wave had delivered a devastating blow, but humanity had fought back. Now, with the last remaining ships still operational, they were prepared for the final confrontation. But the question was, how could they defeat an enemy so powerful, so ancient? "We can't hold them off forever," Admiral Sullivan's voice broke through his thoughts. "They're too strong. We've got no more reinforcements coming. Earth's defenses are shattered. This could be the end." Hughes clenched his fists, his mind working furiously. The alien ships were closing in, and the remaining human forces had taken heavy losses. Their energy reserves were nearly depleted, and there were only a few pockets of resistance left. Yet, Hughes knew one thing that could turn the tide. It wasn't about the weapons, it was about the key to humanity's survival, the mysterious ancient technology buried deep within Earth, the very power source the Galactians had gifted humanity centuries ago. The knowledge and weaponry hidden in the vault weren't just tools of war. They were the key to understanding the true nature of the debt humanity owed. "Get me, Dr. Harris," Hughes ordered, his voice resolute. "I need a direct link to the vault's data, now." Minutes later, Dr. Harris appeared on the comm screen. Her face was drawn, eyes tired, but the fire of determination still burned in her gaze. "General, what's the plan?" she asked, her voice tinged with a mix of fear and hope. "We need to know what the Galactians wanted from us. All of it. You've unlocked their technology now. It's time to unlock their intentions. This debt, it wasn't just about weapons or technology, was it? There's something more, something we missed." Harris nodded. "We've pieced together fragments of their history. The Galactians weren't just conquerors. They were ancient stewards of the galaxy, holding the balance between the stars. Their debt wasn't simply for the technology they gave us. It was for something much more important. The debt is the legacy of humanity. The promise was that Earth would become the next guardian of the galaxy, a protector of peace. But only if we could prove we had the strength to survive, to fight back." The realization hit Hughes like a thunderclap. The Galactians hadn't just come to collect a debt. They had come to see if humanity was worthy to take their place, worthy to inherit their mantle as protectors of the galaxy. If Earth could survive, it would prove that humanity was capable of the responsibility. If not, the galaxy would remain without a protector, lost in the chaos of endless war. "They've been watching us this whole time," Hughes murmured. "This was the test, and we're failing." "Not yet," Dr. Harris replied. "There's still time. The technology you found, it's more than just weapons. It's a network, a connection that links every corner of the galaxy, a way to tap into the very fabric of space itself. We can turn their technology against them, but we need to act fast." The realization that Earth's survival was tied to understanding this ancient power sent a ripple of hope through Hughes. They might not have won the battle yet, but they still had a chance. They had the tools to fight, and they had the will to survive. It was time to settle the score. "Prepare the fleet for one last charge," Hughes ordered. "We're going after their power core. If we can disable it, we can disable their fleet." But there was a catch. This would be a suicide mission. The alien ships had a central power hub, a colossal energy core that sustained their fleet. If humanity could disable it, they could cripple the alien forces. But getting close enough to do that would be nearly impossible, and the risk was astronomical. As the final battle approached, humanity's fleet gathered for what would be their last stand. Ships took their positions, locked onto their targets. The remaining fighters, now armed with alien weaponry, would launch a diversionary attack to keep the fleet distracted. Hughes knew they had only one shot. The air was thick with tension as the fleet closed in on the alien core. The alien ships, battered but still formidable, began to form up in a defensive position around the power hub. Earth's forces charged in, their ships weaving through the incoming blasts, dodging and firing back as they moved closer to the heart of the alien fleet. General Hughes watched as one by one, Earth's ships fell under the weight of the alien onslaught. The alien fleet's weapons were far superior, and Earth's fighters were being picked off in waves. But Hughes didn't falter. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for, the moment to prove that Earth was more than just a small, insignificant planet. With a final, decisive move, Hughes led the remaining fleet into the heart of the alien core. They activated the alien technology, pushing it to its limits. The energy began to surge, and the alien fleet's core exploded in a brilliant burst of light. The alien ships staggered, their power source gone. The remaining fleet struggled to maintain formation, their ships flickering and failing. In that moment, Earth's forces hit with everything they had left. The remaining ships, with their alien weapons, unleashed everything they had on the fleet, taking down ship after ship. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the once invincible alien fleet was broken, scattered across the vast emptiness of space. Humanity had not only survived, they had won as the final alien ship fell. General Hughes stood on the bridge, breathless but resolute. The debt was settled, the score had been paid, and the galaxy would never forget the day when humanity, the underdog, had stood tall and become the protector of the stars.